Brings me to lesson number 3. Look for opportunity, seize them, and take risks when they come along, even if it's not what you had planned. And the place you're going to end up can be better than you've imagined, even if the opportunity before you is not the perfect job you had in mind, or the job that you think is going to look great on your resume. Because in that opportunity, whatever job it might be, is where you're going to learn. It could be volunteer work. It could be an internship. You don't need a full-time perfect job to get started. Seize the opportunities that comes to you. Take risks, and you will learn from them. What's more, taking risks is one of the best ways to keep learning throughout life. It's been one of the most important lessons for me, especially when the answers just wasn't clear. So here's an example. After 20 years of working at Gap Inc. and building Old Navy from the start, I could have stayed with the company until I was ready to retire. But something made me want to find the next opportunity, something where I could keep learning. I remember when I announced my departure from Old Navy. I can't tell you how many people were surprised that I was leaving such a great job. But I was confident that I was making the right decision. I spent time traveling. I talked with people who I had always been interested in meeting, both in retail and in other industries. I joined the Kaiser Permanente Board of Directors and volunteered for nonprofits. And I kept asking myself, what do I want to do next? The first decision was that I decided I truly wasn't ready to retire, and I want to do something full-time. And I worked with a group of investors, people who had a total different background than me, to find a company that I could lead. It seemed exciting, challenging, and new, very new. Now, when I became CEO of Charlotte Russe, I wasn't immediately aware of how different it was going to be than running a division of Gap Inc. I had to learn how to lead every aspect of the company, not just a piece of it. So all while trying to really turn a shrinking business into a growing one. So after 3 years, I can tell you that I've never stopped challenging myself and my team to grow Charlotte Russe. We're not finished yet, but we turned the business around and on the right path. And I've come to believe that this is one of the most exciting risks I could have taken in my career. Seize opportunities, take risks, and learn to constantly grow from your experience, no matter how old you are and what you do. So there's one more thing to add, and that's lesson number 4, which is the most important of all. Having a life outside of work helps make you a better balanced person with more interesting point of view. It allows you to be your whole self. This is something I think you know is important, and you probably do it pretty well, but it is something to hold on to as you build your career. It's a lesson that I and my generation had to learn was important and put in place over time. Some people are still learning that having a life outside work makes you so much better when you are at work. While I was building my career, I also had 3 children, a wonderful, varied experience. Now that my children are grown, I have another personal goal in mind outside work, to write a cookbook. I love to cook, and I collect recipes when I travel. And someday, I wanted my collection to become a cookbook. Until then, it's a great way to meet people and learn about other cultures. If a varied experience is what you want, you can have it too. You might want to write a script or bike across the country. What you do outside of work is what keeps you interesting. Just remember to plan for it and make it a priority. When you know what's important to you, it's easier to set priorities and manage time. When I hear people talking about work-life balance, I picture someone walking a tightrope, and I like to think of it through a complete circle instead, with each aspect complementing the other. My generation had to grow into this kind of balance, and I see your generation and know that you are naturally good at juggling multiple interests. You expect to be able to have a job, a family, and interests outside of work. And there's one other thing that I'm so surprised to see in your nature as a generation. You find time to give back to the community. Building the community around you is giving back, helps you to be your whole self. It's something I see as instinctive in young people today. Giving back can be driven by passion you have or by who you are and where you come from. For me, giving back through education programs that support immigrant students or working on U.S.-China relations is something I've come later in my life. You started earlier than I did, and my suggestion to all of you is to continue making giving back a part of your life. It too may be a source of learning, inspiration, and great satisfaction. Your life is a long-term project, and the more facets of it you explore, and the more ways you stretch, the more interesting it will be. When I left college, I took a more traditional route. It worked for me, and it still works for a lot of new graduates today. There's nothing wrong with it, but there are alternatives, and remember that. The world before you, its option in your life, can be bigger than you ever thought could be. So don't give up. Know that being different is an advantage. Seize opportunities, take risks, and have a life outside of work. And remember to give back. Your education doesn't end when you leave San Jose State. It's just that now it's up to you. And I hope it will reward you your whole life. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your graduation. And my very best wishes to each of you. Thank you.
Dr. Ming, for those insightful comments. Before we confer the degrees, I would like to take a moment to thank all of the unsung heroes who have worked so hard to support all of those who are receiving their degrees today. These are the people who have supported you, the graduates, in many ways that you can count. Those graduates, in many ways, they have helped you, it's hard to enumerate, they have supported you. And well, let me take one more chance to take the opportunity to recognize parents, spouses, significant others, children, relatives, friends, and others to rise again and be recognized to acknowledge all of their critical contributions.